So today we're going to talk about the different types of collisions, and we're just going to focus on the different types, not the math, okay? And then we will do a Kahoot to see how well you guys do on the different types. All right, so we've already talked about momentum. Remember, we talked about momentum being mass and motion, and it has mass and velocity. And remember, we use the letter P for momentum, okay? We use the letter P. All right. Then we talked about impulse. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea why that guy is just laying flat on a brick wall. Maybe he ran into the brick wall, I guess. Okay. If he had had some type of cushion between him and the wall, he could have lessened his impact. Okay. But change in momentum uses a force and time. So this is the equation for impulse. What was the symbol for impulse? The symbol. Symbol means letter. So which letter represents?
Wasn't it just I?
Yes, very good. It was I. Okay. All right. And then can someone tell me, well, this is good review. Can somebody tell me what force is measured in? What unit is force measured in? So not F, but what's the unit?
Newtons.
Very nice. Newtons. And then time is measured in what?
Seconds.
Very nice. Seconds, okay? So remember, if you know these two, you automatically know impulse. If these are being multiplied, impulse is just the Newton second, okay? That's how we get that. All right, good. Can you see? All right. So that is just a quick reminder of that. So now let's talk about these different types of collisions. All right, so we, oh yeah, conservation of momentum. What does conserve mean? If you want to conserve your energy.
Store.
Say again?
To store.
To store, yes, to store or to save, okay? So when we have, momentum cannot be created, destroyed, just like energy and mass and all that other stuff. So this is just saying, when you have two things that both have momentum, okay? And then remember, we're talking about collisions, and Jordan says collisions just mean things are hitting each other. All it's saying is that their momentum is conserved or saved. In other words, their momentum before and their momentum after is going to be the same, even if they had two different ones, okay? So that's where those three equations are going to come into play, but we'll talk about those in a little bit, okay? All right, so conservation of momentum. All right, so here's the type of collisions, okay? The first one is an elastic collision, okay? Elastic. Now, if you hear the word elastic, I know what I always think about. What do you think about when you hear the word elastic?
A rubber band.
Alaska.
Yes, exactly. Okay, everything said I think about. I usually think especially about a rubber band. And a rubber band is stretchy, okay? I don't have one in here, but if I were to pull it backwards and let it go, it snaps back to where it was. It's almost like it bounces back, okay? And that's exactly what I want you to think of when we talk about an elastic collision. They are going to bounce back or bounce off of each other, okay? So if you are in your notes, okay, if you're in your notes, your guided notes, let me see. We are, if you look at where it says types of collisions, so that's on the second page. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. Okay. If you're on your notes, right here it says types of collisions. Collisions in which the objects blank off of each other. Okay. Blank each other. So these are going to be bounced off each other. Okay. They bounce off each other. So this is where we are on our notes. Okay. You can either write it on paper, in your OneNote, on your Google Doc, however you want to do it.
Excuse me, Ms. P.
If you want
You can zoom in a little bit.
Okay. Sure. Oops, wrong button. Is that better, boys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So collisions in which the objects bounce off each other, okay? switch back to my screen somewhere, but remember, these are also in Schoology. I'm going to switch back just for a second to my PowerPoint here. Okay. So elastic collision, okay, elastic collisions, objects will bounce off of each other. They will bounce off of each other. Okay. The momentum is conserved. It is saved. It does not change. It does not get bigger. It does not get smaller. Okay. Momentum is conserved. Okay. All right. Then the next one is kinetic energy is also conserved. Okay. So remember, kinetic energy is just energy of motion. Okay. Energy of motion. So that is also conserved. All right, so when you hear elastic or when you hear about something hitting each other, okay, and they don't get stuck together, that's an elastic collision. So I would just let's make a note somewhere, elastic collisions, we can just say, don't stick together, okay? Don't stick together, because the next one we talk about, they will stick together. So these don't stick together. Wherever you want to make a note, elastic collisions don't stick together. Okay? They bounce off each other. Okay? All right, I'm going to clear this. All right, so now, that's an elastic collision. Now remember, I'm going to skip a little bit on the notes because this is going to go right into the math, but I'm not ready to do math yet. I just want to make sure we know what the collisions are. So like for instance, on here, okay, they have two balls, okay? So you have a ball here and you have a ball here. They're going towards each other. Once they hit each other, okay, realistically, these would have hit. So let's say realistically, if I said, this says before collision and after collision, if I said during, they would really look like this ball right here. Okay, and then the purple ball would be right here. So they would hit, but then afterwards they would bounce off each other. Okay, just like, you know, a lot of sports, a ping pong ball, a tennis ball, a basketball, they usually hit stuff and then they bounce off. All right, so now let's talk about the next type of collision. So I'm going to skip around a little bit because this is going to go right into the math. I don't want you to freak out about it. Don't worry about it. We're going to come back to the math. Okay. So we're going to skip around. We just want to make sure we get all the collisions down first. All right, here's our next type of collision. Inelastic. Anytime you see this IN, IN in the front of something, it just means the opposite. So if elastic collisions bounce off each other, inelastic collisions do not bounce off each other. They hit each other and they get stuck. So these collisions, they stick together, okay? So on your notes, it says collisions in which the objects stick to each other, okay? Let's just say, he's not, okay? He's not, but let's just say Jordan was taking a nap during class and I happened to be chewing a giant wad of bubble gum. And I was like, Jordan, wake up. Jordan, wake up. And he would not wake up. I could take that wad of bubble gum out my mouth and throw it at his face and it would not bounce off. It would stick right to him. That would be an inelastic collision. I would never do that to you, Jordan, unless you had a really long nap, okay? All right, but things where they stick together, that is an inelastic collision, okay? So these things, they start apart and they end up stuck together, okay? So let's look at this, let's see if we can see on this picture. All right, so we can see on this picture, let me clear here. On this picture down here, you can see whatever type of ball this is. Maybe it's made of, I don't know, Maybe it's got something sticky on it. But it hit this blue ball, and when it did, it got stuck on there. So right here, this one got stuck on there, okay? Now on this one, kinetic energy is not saved. Kinetic energy is not saved. Because once that one thing hits the other one, it stops moving, okay? Or it doesn't move at the same speed it was moving before. But again, momentum is conserved. So on your guided notes for this, okay, I'll switch to the guided notes just for a second so you can see where we are. All right. So on the guided notes for here, we skipped all the math. We're down here where it says inelastic collisions. Collisions in which the objects stick to each other. Kinetic energy is not conserved. Momentum is conserved. Okay, that's where we are right here. And then it still has the picture for you like we did on the notes. Okay. So collisions in which the objects stick to each other, kinetic energy is not conserved. Momentum is conserved. Look at this. We're almost halfway through the notes. We'll come back and do the math another day. All right, I'm going to switch back. So we've done elastic and inelastic. Kayla, do you remember the last one we were talking about?
Wait, so
You said something, I talked about the pieces breaking off. You have a big, not, well, volcano would be a type of this. Explosion, very nice, explosion. All right, so here's the other type of, oh, did we already do this? Oh, this is the math. We don't want this yet. Okay. We'll worry about the math later. Yes, explosions. So let's get to our explosions. Not bullfighting. We're not ready for bullfighting yet. All right, here's explosions. Explosions are exactly what they sound like. It is something breaking off into pieces or separating, okay? So explosions, okay, collisions in which the objects separate. So this is like an inelastic collision in reverse. In other words, you start with one thing and then it breaks off into its pieces, okay? Like a firecracker or a bullet inside of a gun, okay? Or what else would be an explosion? A car that, you know, maybe hit a gas tank or something and then the doors flew off of it. Those are all explosions, okay? All right, in an explosion, momentum is conserved, kinetic energy is not conserved, okay? And when we say, just so you know, okay, it's not that we're destroying kinetic energy, okay? What it just means is sometimes it's lost to other stuff. In an explosion, what do you get? Usually when you think of an explosion, what else do you think of? What do you, like, if you looked at it, or
bombs.
Yes. And what else? Like, how would you know it was an explosion? Okay.
The sound.
The sound. And what else? What would you usually see? Smoke or fire, right? Okay, so when they say kinetic energy is not conserved, what they're saying is, hey, some of that energy, it just changed into other stuff. Like some of that energy that was moving now turned into sound. That's why you hear a big boom when you hear an explosion. Or maybe it turned into heat or fire, okay? So, type of collisions, explosions, right? You start with one thing and then it separates, okay? Inelastic collision in reverse, momentum is conserved. Kinetic energy is not conserved. So on every single one of these, momentum is always conserved, okay? Always conserved. All right, so let's go back or not go back, let's just do a quick summary table and then we'll jump right to the Kahoot. We're gonna do the math another day. Let me make sure I got everything on the notes, okay? So on the notes for this, did we get everything? Are we missing any blanks? Start together, end apart. Let's go, let me go look. All right, so we did explosion next. Scroll. All right. All right. Collisions in which objects separate or break apart. Inelastic collision in reverse. Momentum is conserved. Kinetic energy is not conserved. Okay. Good. All right. So now what I want you to do, actually, let's stay right here. All right. We're going to not worry about the formula yet. We're not going to do any math today. Okay. But there is a nice summary table asking you right here. Okay. Is momentum conserved? Is kinetic energy conserved? All right.
Wait, where's the table?
It's if you scroll down in your notes, let me show you in your notes. In your notes, if you scroll down,
Oh, I see it.
you found it?
It's just not blue like.
Yeah, it's just not blue. It looks just like this. Okay. So is momentum conserved? Is kinetic energy conserved? Okay. So that's what we're looking at right now. We want to fill in this table. You can tell me yes or no for all of these. I'm going to put it back right here. Okay. I'm going to put it right back here. So what about, so your answers are always yes or no. Which one of these, listen carefully to my question, okay? Which one of these is momentum not conserved in?
Explosions.
Explosions? You sure? Don't let,
Oh, my bad. No, never mind. None of them.
none of them, wait, none of them?
No, it's kinetic energy, not conserved.
Right, but what about momentum though? Which one is momentum conserved in?
All of them. Wait, I'm so
All of
confused.
them, yes, it's all of them. I tried to trick you guys, okay? So yes, for this, elastic collision, so not kinetic, but for momentum, okay, oops, let me draw. For momentum, every single one of these
Excuse me,
is
P.
conserved. Yes?
Oh, where we at?
We are, if you scroll in your notes, you should see something that says summary table. It's not blue on your sheet. It's
Oh,
just
it's not.
on my screen. You see it? Looks like a little table. All right. So for these, this is the easy one. If it's momentum, always conserved. That is a law. Law of conservation of momentum. Law of conservation for momentum. Okay. Now on kinetic energy, I'll give you a hint. It's only yes, only for one of them. Only one of them is yes. You know which one?
That's elastic.
It is elastic. Yes, it is. Okay. It's just for these. No and no. Very good. Okay. All right. Everybody got that down? Yes, yes, yes. Yes, no, no. All right, we're going to do this one last table, and then we're going to Kahoot. Whoop, whoop. Hopefully you remember. I'll have to try to make it a game kit later, but the Kahoot was easier right now. All right, so I'm going to clear this. Okay. All right. And now let's look at it in terms of a visual. Okay, so this were the answers: yes, 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 no, no. Okay, now let's look at these pictures. Okay, so initial means this is how it starts. Oops. Okay, and then final means this is how it ends. Let's see, you try to take a second. Let's take about 3 minutes and let's see if you can figure out which one is which. So this one looks like they start apart, they hit each other, they still are apart. This one, they start together, they separate and go different ways. This one, they start apart and they get stuck together. So take about 2-3 minutes. See if you can figure out which one is which. All right, anybody want to guess? They can tell me the answer to 1, 2, or 3. Anybody want to guess?
Number 2 is an explosion.
Very nice. Number 2 is an explosion. That is correct. Number 2 is explosion. All right. Anybody for number 1 and number 3? We know it has to be elastic or inelastic.
The last one is inelastic.
Last one's inelastic. Very nice. Yes, and those are the two. And so that means the first one is elastic. Very nice. So here are your answers for those. All right, so you guys get those in. You did an excellent job. All right, get those in for your notes. And then we're gonna get ready to Kahoot. You guys did so good. Yep. So this elastic one, or really, so if you can remember, explosion starts as one, boom, breaks apart into pieces. Inelastic, that's me throwing my bubble gum at Jordan's face, gets stuck to him, okay? And then elastic is the one that sounds like a rubber band, so think about stuff bouncing off of each other, okay? All right. I'm gonna stop recording.